I mentioned actually many times in my previous talk, I mentioned the kind of a contrast or juxtaposition of individual or collective forms of art patronage. And Tommy told you the story of Serlachius, Gustav Adolf Serlachius and Josta Serlachius as individual art patrons, and now I will be telling how our foundation has been following in the footsteps of these living people who were art patrons and how we kind of guard their legacy. And well, we have two museums. Actually, I might show, there's a video so you see a little bit of our context. There should be also voice, but we don't hear it now, but you can see the images. Yeah. This is our head office. One of our museums, these are our drama guides. This is the manor house. As you see, we are in the middle of nature in Mänttäs. We have a small island and restaurant services. I will be telling more about this part of our work very soon. And we also have a sauna, which is kind of a small silly thing in our whereabouts. And sustainability is a super important thing for us nowadays. But yes, let's continue. Okay. So Serlachius in a nutshell. Tommy told about how Serlachius Finance Foundation was founded in 1930s. It was a private art collection. Behind it was Finnish forest industry and Serlachius family. And nowadays we are trying to focus very much in our own stories. So we don't want to be kind of a general museum, and we don't want to compete with our national colleagues in our national like Ateneum or Kiasma, but we kind of decided at some point that we want to be like in a Finnish museum scene. We want to represent the tradition of individual art collectors, and thus we are still telling our story in a very individual way in many ways. And we don't believe in museum categories. For example, we used to have a historical museum and we had an art museum, but nowadays we just call them two museums that are like sharing the same Serlachius history and sharing the same Serlachius story of how things happened in Mänttäs. We have about 100,000 visitors annually. It depends, of course, a little bit on our, last year it was 83,000, but the best year was 150,000 visitors. This year our biggest things will be Anish Kapoor exhibition, so we are waiting for many people to come to Mänttäs this year. Let's see, our personnel nowadays is a little bit more than 50 plus. When I came to Mänttäs to work, there were only 3 people working in the foundation. So this was 25 years ago, so it means that we have been growing quite significantly during the last years. And then the instrument or group of people who are governing our foundation is a board of 7 people. 4 of them come from Serlachius family. So Serlachius family kind of still is exercising the power in our board in a way. The rest of them, 3 members, they come from different art associations and foundations and university world of Finland. And we very much want to be, as you saw in this video, because we are far away, you have to come to Mänttäs to see us. We don't have the privilege of calling ourselves only as a cultural foundation or cultural institution, but we understand our identity very much so that we are a travel destination. This is why we are trying to do our not only important exhibitions, but this is why we have a very good restaurant, we have very good shops, and this is why we also built a sauna for the museum. So now I'm actually continuing where Tommy left his story. Josta Serlachius, he did die in 42 during the wartime actually, so these were difficult times in many ways. But as there was already the foundation, he had founded it in the 1930s, the story in a way continued basically very smoothly. It was just that the individual collector was not anymore there, and in the beginning it was actually the board that was exercising the biggest power, because at that time the foundation didn't have art specialists or art professionals like we are. Of course there were like Bertel Hintze continued in the board, and some collectors and some artists also, but okay, I correct myself. There were art professionals, but they were not museum professionals in a way, working in the board at that time. So it was kind of the board members themselves had to be considering what happens. Josta Serlachius himself was not at all a conservative art collector, because he was also collecting the contemporary art of his time. But later on, when the board was kind of thinking, how shall we continue this story in a way? What shall we collect? The basic idea was that they will be collecting exactly the same artists that Josta Serlachius himself could buy. And so it happened that during 1940s, 1950s, 1970s, especially 1980s and 1990s, the foundation gradually, step by step, kind of forgot the contemporary art and was not anymore kind of living art player in the contemporary art world of Finland, but they were mostly buying the same Akseli Gallen-Kallela, Schärfbeck, Halonen pieces that Josta Serlachius himself was buying. And also the museum became in a way kind of an ivory tower, that it was a museum, but it was mostly for Serlachius company and the guests of Serlachius family that they came there, and it was for example open only during the weekends for 2 or 3 hours per day, so it was not as we consider contemporary museums to work nowadays. In early 2000s, there was a new generation who came to work in Serlachius Foundation, and also there was a change in board for Gustav Serlachius, who was kind of the last Serlachius in a way. There are still like Serlachius family members, but he was the last of the big patrons in a way. He died in 2009, and already 1 year before that left his position as the head of the board. And then we kind of started making our strategy, and we were thinking about what to do now the forthcoming years. How should the foundation see its position right now in Finnish, European and global art scene? And we made 2 important decisions. One was that we built a big extension. You saw the Serlachius manor in these images that I was showing you earlier. And then the other idea was that we come back to the field of contemporary art. And I here stress the word back, because as I said, Josta Serlachius himself was very interested in contemporary art of his time, and we just now kind of understood that we are preserving his values, his ideals, his way of interacting with the art world in a way that we start collecting also the contemporary art. And since that, actually most of our projects have been contemporary art projects. I'm not saying that we wouldn't value our old collection. It's super important for us, and it's giving us our identity, our kind of place in Finnish art scene. So it's very important for us also. And some methods through which we want to work. First of all, we follow very closely certain contemporary artists, just like actually Josta Serlachius was doing at his time. So the idea is that the institution wants to act as a private collector did. So we are not trying to create kind of a general museum that would need to cover all the fields of art, but we can be as subjective and as selective and as, I would even say the word personal in our methods of collecting art as an individual art collector. And so we are nowadays making very many commissions from directly from the Finnish contemporary artists, and we very much buy art from our own exhibitions. This is also a good way of thanking the artists for the cooperation, and we give them production support, which we actually get back if we happen to want to buy something from the exhibition. So it's also always written in our contracts that if we are producing the artworks like with Serlachius money, then it means also that if we want to acquire something, that will be considered as a prepayment in a way of the acquisition. Because we are interested in Serlachius' story and the story of Mänttäs and Serlachius, we very often suggest to contemporary artists that they would study our history, study our collections, study our archives, and do their projects accordingly, commenting it or even saying bad things about our history. That's also possible in a way, because we kind of want to be very open institution and want to hear what the artists have to say about our history and our story. Maybe I will. We also have a Serlachius residency, which has a role in all this. But I'm just presenting you two artists with whom we have been working very closely. One is Riiko Sakkinen. He's actually, as these processes happen, so that these kind of become very personal relationship. Nowadays, I got to know Riiko Sakkinen, who is a Finnish contemporary artist living in Spain, near Madrid nowadays. So we have been very actually close friends since something like 15 years now, because we have been making together our projects. I invited him when we opened our extension. I invited him to make an exhibition commenting about art museums as institutions, kind of making their things, making their exhibitions so that they are using artists as kind of raw materials for that. And Riiko made an exhibition, or we made it together. I was the curator of the process in a way. And he made this exhibition. It was called Museum of No Art. So he created his imaginary museum inside our museum, in which the museum was interested in everything but art itself. Actually, it was just a huge museum shop. And the project, in a way, was commenting the role of museums, how we are nowadays concentrating in wrong things from the point of view of an artist. Later we made another project together. That was 2015. We were traveling together in the footsteps of the refugees, because that was the big year of the refugee crisis, and making art about the refugee crisis in Finland. This car actually was used by refugees coming from Russia to Finland. And we just somehow found it somewhere, and Riiko made it his art piece. And then we made also a third project about Fuengirola. That's a city in southern Spain, in Andalusia, where there are something like 30,000 Finns living nowadays, going there because of cheap beer and sun and things like that. So we kind of, and Riiko is super important artist also in our collection. We have been all the time buying art from him. So he has, and actually he has also been donating art to our collection. So he's like very often when he makes a project and he has like archive materials. He collects them together and gives all this. So he's becoming kind of a Serlachius artist in a way that Akseli Gallenkallela or Markus Collin or these older guys were in 1930s Serlachius artists. Another example would be Eija-Liisa Ahtila. You might know her better than Riiko Sakkinen because she happens to be the most famous Finnish contemporary artist. She's very established internationally. She has had her solo shows in MoMA, in Tate Modern, in Jeu de Paume in Paris, and in many places. So she's like a big international star. We made 3 commissions with her, the first one 2014 and then 2017, and the last one was actually last year. So as long as I have been director of Serlachius Art Museum, we have all the time had a project with Eija-Liisa Ahtila. When we finished the last one, we kind of started the next one. And we have also been buying her art, actually everything, like the most significant works that he has been making from the year 2000 onwards are nowadays in our collection. So it's a big thing for us, Eija-Liisa. Does this all work? To make it very short, museum, in a way, we are very happy of this system. Of course, we kind of created this system. This gives our museum an own identity compared to the other museums in Finland. Everyone knows Serlachius in Finland because of what we do, that this is our kind of working method. And we kind of like to work personally with the artist. It's a good way to work. Most artists are very happy with this. Of course, they are getting economical support, and they get exhibitions, acquisitions, and publications and prestige with Serlachius. But there are also problems. And now I come back to what I spoke about in my previous talk, kind of the autonomy of art is a little bit questionable here, of course. If the artist gets kind of a reputation of being Serlachius artist, it might not be so good for him or for her in a way, because they are supposed to be kind of their own masters. And it might be actually that nowadays, I've heard this from some artists, that they are losing grants because of this, because they are told that, well, Serlachius is taking care of you, you don't need grants, or they even might be losing exhibitions. For example, Riiko has been telling me that he hasn't had a big show in Helsinki lately, and this is maybe because he all the time has his shows in Mänttäs, so the big museums in Helsinki might think that he's kind of covered, and he's our artist in my way. Maybe it's also that they might become a little bit too comfortable, but we try to kind of keep them alert in a way that it doesn't mean that we gave you an exhibition that you will get a next exhibition. It's something that always has to be earned. So this was my second talk. Okay.
Question?
Can I ask, how big is your collection? How many pieces?
We have something like, well, it's a bit difficult to say, because what is collection? There are kind of many things that are enumerated there, but something like 10,000.
10,000.
Yeah.
And if you come, I can see everything, or you have something in archives?
Sorry?
In a storage most as a normal museum.
Yeah.
I'm asking that people come to visit. You have something in archives, or you can see? I can see everything.
If you no, of course you cannot see everything, because only like a small percentage of the artworks, of course, is on display at one moment, because we don't have such big gallery spaces. But of course we are kind of rotating the pieces in the collections, that they come and to the walls every now and then. And then if you kind of the archives, of course, they are open for the scholars. If you have a good reason to come and see the archives, you just, but you need to contact us, of course, first.
And last question, if I may, part of your exhibition is now in Tallinn, but you have also something to exchange for that.
Yeah, because the collection is so big, and actually it's not only about this exhibition in Tallinn. Normally our collection is touring the world, so that we normally send a couple of dozens of pieces. Tommy, you are actually working with this, but it might be that some almost 100 artworks might be touring during a year, maybe not 100, but
at least 50.
Yeah, something like that. So this is in a way normal for us, and we kind of want to tour the collection because we kind of think that they are like the individual pieces are like ambassadors of the collection. We want to show them, and this is also like making Serlachiuse an international reputation, because we understand that it's difficult to come to Mänttäs.
Sorry, I just wanted to ask how large part of your collection is digitally collected?
Digitalized. More digitalized than online, because we actually just started our most new project with putting our collections in Finna, which is kind of a Finnish version of Europeana. I've been thinking about it, if it's wise or not, or should we have use the Europeana as it's becoming more and more important. But at this phase we chose Finna, and this is a complex thing, because we are now very much working in the field of contemporary art, and this means there are Kuvasto, our national foundation or association, who is seeing that the rights of the artists are happening as they should happen. They put very big bills for that, if we want to show our pieces in online. So it's complicated, but I understand that this is the future of our profession very much, that we have to show the pieces online.
Last question.
You were talking about two artists, contemporary artists that you used to build. And there was a car painting. Could you recall the name of the painting? Because I noticed that it has a Russian license plate.
Yeah, as we said, so it's a car by Russian refugees. So not refugees, but immigrants.
Yeah. Actually, they were not immigrants from Russia. They were not Russian.
I see.
From Iraq and Afghanistan and so on. Russia just put them into Finland.
There's one more question. Actually, I read from the internet that his Gustav's father has a brewery. Does it work still?
Gösta's father's brewery.
Brewery?
Yeah.
No, I think it's not work. Or then it's part of something bigger. But it was in Jakobstad, in Pietarsaari Brewery. Tommy, do you happen to know it?
I don't think.
I don't think it exists. I think it's what has happened in these corporations in Finland is that someone bought them and then they became part of something bigger. So it might be still like a seed of something in a much bigger company nowadays. Like Serlachiuse company doesn't exist anymore. Serlachiuse is not making paper, but it's part of Mänttäs corporation, and the mills actually in Mänttäs are still working, but Serlachiuse family has nothing to do with them anymore. We are only concentrating on the legacy of Serlachiuse in Mänttäs and the art part.
But the name of the toilet paper is still there.
Yeah. Even the name is still there. Yeah. We Finns kind of think that Serla is almost like a synonym of toilet paper.
So last question.
The last one. It was very interesting, positive surprise for me to find Halanen in the Museum in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
Where elsewhere in the world you can see Halanen?
Mostly in Finland, I'm afraid to say, but
It's a positive surprise for me.
yeah. We had one piece.
This was
Yeah.
one of my favorite artists.
Yeah. Ateneum is nowadays doing really good work in touring Finnish artists, and this is it has been a big trend now that things happen that the Sharpek exhibition was happening in New York, and actually the Japanese people are super interested in Finnish contemporary art and Finnish classical older art. For example, right now Serlachius is doing a project of Ellen Teslev. It will go on 27, 28. I'm curating it partly myself, and it will go to Tokyo and Osaka and possibly also for a third place. So Finnish art is, people are interested in it in foreign countries, like here also. And we are, of course, super happy for that and proud for that.
The exhibition that was in Paris of the Alates is now in Enschede in the Netherlands and will continue to Copenhagen.
Ah, of course, yes. So these are other places.
Helena Scherbeck.
Yeah.
Do you have many works?
We have, actually Josta Serlachius was already collecting Helen Scherbeck, and we had something like, in his time, less than 10 pieces. Nowadays we have more than 20 pieces, so this generation of Serlachius family has been very interested in buying Helen Scherbeck, but it's very, very difficult nowadays to buy Helen Scherbeck because the prices are really going up. A couple of years ago we still could buy her art more freely than nowadays because the economical situation of the world is really difficult now, and it's also because we are competing with the Swedes, with Helen Scherbeck, because she lived part of her life in Sweden, and the Swedish people, they are also interested in her, and they are a bit more rich than we are, and every time that there is an auction of Helen Scherbeck, we are competing with the private art collectors in Sweden, and they actually try to buy her art just because of the economical reasons. They buy it, they put it in a safe place, and then it comes back to auction in 10 years with double price. And what we are trying to do in this situation is that we are kind of trying to save these pieces of art which have national significance in Finland and put them in a collection that is public, because then it's kind of owned together by all the Finns in a way. So we kind of it's kind of an idealistic starting point.
It would be also interesting to see what do the prices do now after the Metropolitan show.
That's what I have been fearing. That's something that will happen, that they will be even doubled again, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you.